choo choo. Welcome to the Nostalgia Train Book Club. Kelly is the conductor for this round.
I am. I was so excited. Do we want to give introductions? I feel like everyone watching would know me to some degree, and it's not really.
Oh, she's there now. Everyone should know who I am.
Yeah. She is the most famous.
Released one book, and she's too big for this.
She is # published author.
I am, and I guess if we're gonna be like, tooting my horn and stroking the little ego that I have.
Okay, the ego.
I was really excited to do this because, surprisingly, to a pleasant surprise, on a Goodreads review, Don Noel got compared to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It was like, oh, if you like X,
right,
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and Narnia vibes, you'll love this. And I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna go die now. This is amazing. This is
imagine me compared to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Iconic, Kelly.
And I do think you are the perfect conductor for this because you have talking animals in your book. It's a portal fantasy. There's some comparisons to be made.
There is. Yeah. And
who are you?
We know more about your book than about you at this point.
Well, that's all you need to know about is I got a book out and it's getting pretty good reviews. So, go buy yourself a copy. I think Amazon sold out, and so is Barnes and Noble. So, look at your local Books A Million and.
I bought the ebook and we'll be reading that.
I think I just put in the link to this stream, I put the link to Inimitable Books, which has then the buying options on their site underneath. Because I thought that was the easiest because they listed all the sellers.
Yeah. Thank you, Violet. But funny haws aside, I'm a woman of many names. I have a YouTube channel called Ink Study. We get together 3 times a month. And we're going to be getting together on Sunday to talk about endings. I'm going to be joined by Zara and Mars. And then that's at 9. And then at 11 on Sunday, we are wrapping up the year and December's monthly accountability to see where we all fell. So my lovely co-conductors that I wanted to have on with me, why don't we have a little introduction for y'all?
Is Violet not just the company owner?
I am, but I am. I've changed the system of the book club now to now. I'm actually just calling the person of the month the conductor because
I'm the company owner now.
Yeah, because I wanted the other people to have more power, and I wanted it to be less the Violet show. I know how un-Capricorn of me.
Yeah, very much.
I love the Violet show. I would subscribe to the Violet show.
I know. I changed my role on the Discord to Station Rat.
That is very appropriate.
I know. I changed it.
So you get from station to station by riding the train?
Yeah, I'm just the rat in the station. I run the show, but nobody knows. I'm just the behind the scenes sneaky rat.
No, you're like in the conductor hat, like Remy.
Oh yeah, I'm the rat who's really pulling the strings. That's a good analogy, Kelly.
That's funny.
Yeah. Anyways, my history with this book, it was my first time reading the book. I first heard of this book, I think in the 7th grade. I saw a girl in my class reading it, and I think she must have had a bind up of the books because it wasn't this tiny thing. It was like a big thing. So she must have had a bind up.
This thing?
Yes, she had like a bind up of that, and I think it had like the cover of the big lion on the front.
Yes, I don't have the just check it on.
Yeah, and she brought it to class and like plopped it down on her desk and it made like a boom.
Standard.
And I was like, "What the fuck are you reading?" And it has the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I was like, "What the hell is that book? What a weird title! What a weird book!" And I'm like, "What's it about?" And she's like, "It's about a lion, a witch, and a wardrobe." I'm like, "What the heck is that? What 7th graders reading this big ass thing just for funsies?" Like, I'm like, "Is it for school? Is it for a book report?" She's like, "No, just reading it for fun."
Recreationally.
And that was the first time I ever heard of the book. And then the movie came out like a couple years after that, and then I watched it. And I was like, "Okay, it was a cool movie."
Right.
Yeah, scars you a little bit for life, though. That queen with her Turkish delight.
We'll get to the Turkish delight.
Yeah.
I have thoughts.
Yeah, but
I have
I'm
thoughts.
actually reading it, so
Yeah.
And my history with book is that I used to watch the because BBC has done an adaptation of numerous of the books, four of them, I think, and it used to run every Christmas and every Easter in Norway on like Christmas morning, or it was a show called Christmas Morning that went all of Advent, I think, or just the Christmas between Christmas and New Year's, and they would show like 10, 15 minutes of Narnia each like episode, and then by the end you'd watch the entire series, and I loved it, and then I was like, oh, there's books. And then I read the book. I've only read it in Norwegian though, so I don't know. I have some thoughts on that too.
Ooh.
But yeah, that was my first encounter. Was probably 6, 7 years old watching Narnia on television, and it was scary when you were 6, 7.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Michael, and stuff.
Oh, you
don't
changed
forget
it.
Yeah.
this. Don't forget the stuff.
Yeah.
It's important.
Is that what CB stands for?
Yeah. That's those are the initials of the stuff. Yeah. So, but I feel like my sort of history with the book is kind of like a typical one. Never read the book, but always knew about it, always heard about it, and stuff like that. Kind of like saw a movie here or there. And yeah, kind of had a sense of what it was sort of about. And then I read it. So this is, my first reading and everything. Really enjoyed it. Kind of like, I don't know. Well, as an adult, as a kid also, I guess. But yeah, I finished it last night, and here we are.
Oh, good. So it's fresh in your head. Should we say hi to the chat?
Probably.
shall.
Yeah.
Okay. Who have we got? Sam slid in with a woohoo. Stig, you said tag yourself, lion, witch, or wardrobe. I think I'm wardrobe. What do you guys think?
I'm obviously the witch.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take lion.
I don't know what I might be, but we'll work on it.
Okay, you can.
I feel like you're the wardrobe too, Michael.
Steve. Just
Sometimes you're a pile of musty old coats, and sometimes you're a whole fantasy world. You never know.
Sometimes you're a
hello.
mothball.
Yeah, sometimes you're a mothball. Hello, Nia.
Yeah.
Hi, Lynn. Lynn has just finished the audiobook a couple days ago. You've wanted less responsibility during the stream. I see how it is. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
Tilda Swinton was divine in this.
Great casting. A great casting choice, I think. She really did a great job in that role.
Yeah, I do remember seeing her.
My first with this book was a teacher reading it to us in small parts at the end of class. I can see that this book would be good to read out loud to a class.
Yeah.
Well, it's not going to be banned because of Christian themes.
Yeah, the chapters are quite, short, easily consumable. I can see it being a good, classroom read.
Yeah, you could read one chapter at a time for sure.
Yeah. Love that. My favorite part of the school day. I think it was the book that helped me fall in love with fantasy. Yeah, a great entry point for fantasy, for sure.
Yeah.
This was a reread for me. Don't remember when I first read it, but I remember I had tried and failed to read the whole series.
Ah. Yeah.
I also haven't read the whole series. Steve, didn't one of your novels have inspiration from Prince Caspian? So you've read the whole series.
I have read the whole series. One of my novels it started out as Prince Caspian fanfic, quote unquote. It wasn't really a fanfic. It was always my own project. But
right.
I was like, wouldn't it be cool if Peter and Caspian were in love? But now it's just something completely different than that. So.
Okay, but cool to draw inspiration. I'd seen one of the other sequel movies like on TV, but just like little glimpses of it. So I don't like they were on a ship with a mouse.
Yeah, Voyage of
The mouse was everything.
But I didn't like see enough of it to know the plot. I just saw like little glimpses of it.
I Readathon Trevor. I believe that's
Kill you down.
Hello? Did I robot?
Yep, your robot.
God damn it.
Hey, Nikki. Lion Jesus. Mm-hmm.
They don't want to see your butt.
Just read it for the first time, and
Hi, Nymph.
Oh, this is toffee beans.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Wait, did you say coffee beans?
Toffee beans.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, I shall put up the spoiler banner.
Yes.
What discussion topic shall we like to discuss first?
Maybe we could start with the beginning of the book or something, kind of work our ways on, or I don't know.
Plot and pacing, prose and writing style. Is it one of those?
Plot makes sense.
Plot, yeah, plot's a good place to start.
I think it worked for, because I feel like, okay, so like it is a portal fantasy, and as a portal fantasy, obviously there's got to be some bad shit happening in the real world or like the world that the characters are in. And I think that wasn't C.S. Lewis in one of the wars?
Yeah, the first World War down in the trenches.
Yeah, and he like wrote this as a way to cope.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I
didn't know that.
Interesting, and I think that was like a good tie-in of the bad thing happening for the characters to be sent away to the countryside and finds this wardrobe.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely read up a little bit on C.S. Lewis prior to the stream about him and Tolkien. I wanted to see about their friendship and stuff. And it said that was one thing they bonded over. The reason that they had a love for fantasy and escapism was because of their shared experience in war.
Right.
Coffee beans, can we mute, please? Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that was a really good like start to the book, and like really it captures your attention because I don't know, whenever I think portal fantasy, I think like, okay, something terrible has to be happening at the start of the book to grab our attention to keep us long enough to get to the new world. I
just love the setting of kind of like the fact that the children are set in this big house that to them, probably for us as adults, is not this big of a house, but since we're in the POV, following children, that it feels big and unexplored, and the idea of running around the house and, like, oh, the room that has this big wardrobe. And that's just how they, distinguish the room, that maybe an adult would be like, the upstairs guest bedroom or whatever it is.
I also think... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Michael, was it you?
Huh? Oh, no, I wasn't going to say anything.
Me neither, so I don't know.
Okay, I thought I was interrupting because you were like continue. I thought you were like taking a breath to continue, and then oh no, I'm sorry. Where was my thought? Because it was building off of like what you said about being in the aspect of like children, and I think that it was during the movie, because comparing like the movie to the book, I think that this from what I watched on like analysis, because like I said, I haven't read the whole series, but like this was the movie that was most true to the book itself. But something I really liked is whenever I was listening to the audiobook and like, the shot of Lucy slowly backing up in the wardrobe when they're playing hide and seek. I think that is like, it's such a simple thing, but I think it really did it well with like the portal and the transition. And that's kind of how I pictured it whenever I was listening to the audiobook, just because of how great that shot was.
Oh.
Yeah, I agree. Like, having already watched the movie and then read the book, I didn't expect my memory and nostalgia for the movie to translate so well, you know.
Mhm.
I thought, oh, you know, it's a bit older of a novel. Maybe the prose is going to feel old and dated, but it wasn't at all. It felt so, yeah, it felt whimsical. It felt cozy.
Right.
I
Yeah.
also love that it's like literally page three, and we're in Narnia already. It was like
Mhm.
so fast. They wasted no time in that manner.
Yeah,
I was like,
Got
"Ooh,
right to it.
page three," and here's Tumnus. So that
yeah.
was also so quick, and I appreciate that because I'm impatient.
I don't know how the translation version was, Steek, but I found, I mean, oh, sorry, I'm a little bit going over into writing style. Maybe I have to switch the banner, but like I found the writing style like very accessible. Like, if you were to read
It's
this
also
as
very
a,
acceptable in Norwegian.
it wasn't, or it was.
Yeah, it was very simple.
Yeah, I felt like you could easily read this as a child and not get confused. Whereas some like fantasy, even aimed for children, I mean, I've picked up a few middle grade novels recently where like I feel like the authors write things almost are trying to be a little bit flashy. It's almost like tongue twistery, and I thought, oh, this is older. It's gonna maybe be confusing, and it wasn't at all. Like,
It was written very nice. Definitely anyone could pick it up and know what's going on.
yeah,
Yeah.
There was also a moment in the beginning, and I'm not sure like how much of my experience is like translation stuff or how much
hmm
is like accurate. There's a moment in the beginning when they talk about like, oh, maybe we could go to the gardens tomorrow. We could see the animals around the estate, and like they all mentions the animals they want to see, and just I never thought about it this way, but the way that they themselves embody those animals in Narnia is just very like I don't know if any of you remember that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's on the
oh,
second page,
This
and then Peter is like,
right.
oh, maybe we could say a hawk or a stag, and you obviously his, the king, so he's the
mm.
stag of the jungle, and then Lucy's like, ooh, or maybe we could see a badger, and she's a badger, like personality wise, and Susan is like, ooh, or a rabbit, and she's very much giving scared rabbit in Arnia, and then Edmund is like, ooh, or maybe a sly fox, and then like obviously it's a sly fox.
Yep,
Interesting.
So I
nice
was just like,
observation.
Yeah.
okay, I was just like, yeah, they they invented Hogwarts houses, confirmed.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That is great.
Oh
I
gosh,
didn't notice.
But yeah, I thought that was really fun. I was like, oh, this is foreshadowing to who they are in Narnia. That's so fun.
I've fallen behind on the comments. Nikki says, I don't think I knew Edmund was such a little shit just having seen the movie, but maybe it's been so long. hmm
Yeah. He is, oh my god, he is just such a knob.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Definitely, it comes through in the book when
In the
you're reading
book.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lynn says the pacing at the beginning is so quick, which makes sense for kids, I guess. But I would have liked to see them settle down in their new home for a second. Yeah.
I mean, there's little to no description. And I don't know, I understand what you say, Lynn, and I do agree. And I feel like in an adult novel, it definitely would be the case, but, you know,
Like
just,
there's like one line where they're like talk about like is it like the cook or the housekeepers and they're like say their names, they're like, well, they're not going to be relevant in the story anyway, so like you don't need to know this, but here's who they
Oh,
are.
right. Yeah.
And I was like, what?
yeah.
Then why did you tell us?
I really did identify with, what's the name? Mrs. McCready,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
housekeeper. I
Yeah,
really saw
was
myself in her.
the main housekeeper.
She's not mean. She's an adult trying to do a job, and there's four children constantly in her way. I understand her, and I see you, Mrs. McCready.
I just thought it was funny the way it's like, well, she's not really part of the story, so I was like, what?
That is something though that you would write in a kid's book because a
Yeah.
kid would kind of actually need that information, but also find it kind of funny. So
I don't know. It's
I
just
also
a little
think
bit
too, like as a kid, you see all adults who are just trying to do their job like as just mean and terrible, and they don't want to have fun.
that's true.
yeah.
That's true. That's really true. 10 minutes
Yeah,
to
she
the
was just trying to
kitchen.
do her job, and I think kudos to her. But yeah,
Part of the point is, yeah, they're not really settled yet. Movie did have a fantastic transition. Love how fast of a read it was. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It was very fun. I do feel like the narrator lied to me at one point when he said he wouldn't go into pages of detail describing travels. And then he did. Yep, top 10 narration betrayals. See, very nice detail. The animals, the kids say, and them in Narnia. Margaret and Betty, I shan't forget them. Got irritated a few times when I'd be really into the world and C.S. Lewis would reference things like, as we said in the last chapter, and I'd be reminded I was reading. Yes. Yeah.
There was a lot of that, like omnipotent. There you go.
Yeah.
Omnipotent, like, because at some point, when Edmund first arrives in Narnia, and he sees the not the lighthouse, what's it called?
Lamppost.
The lamppost. And like the narrator goes like, and this is the lamppost where Lucy met Tumnus. And I was like, how would Edmund know this? He wasn't there to see it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just generally I don't really care for omnipotent like narrators anyway. But you know, for the story, I thought it made sense.
Yeah, for the fairy tale whimsy of it, it works, but it is out of style.
Was that like a common like writing style during the time it was drafted or written though?
Don't think so. Well, I don't know about middle graders, but like, you know, Lord of the Rings is not written in that style, and I think Lord of the Rings is kind of classic style wise for its era in terms of fantasy.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't know how Alice in Wonderland compares to Narnia in terms of timeline, but I think they're like similar styled in terms of narration. I don't know.
Winnie the Pooh. So the Winnie the Pooh books is like that. There is a narrator telling the story, but also constantly sort of talking to the reader, and yeah. I feel like this is more of like a kid's book kind of thing too. Sorry, Kelly.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Just going to like back to the Alice in Wonderland. I think that book, like, I love Alice in Wonderland. Obviously, there was a lot of inspiration for Down the Well with that, but I think the original book, as well as like the 1950s Disney movie, it had no sense. Like there was nothing happening. Where like it's nice to see that like with the subgenre of portal fantasy though, like with how Narnia did it, it's very like I think the world building is very tight. It's not like as nonsensical. That was just something I liked.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit nonsensical because at some point, is it Mrs. Beaver who mentions that they have to bring their oil. What's it called? An oil set? Didn't notice of this.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, oilskin jacket. They talk about oilskin jackets and how they need to bring them. And I'm just like, okay, that implies that there's oil in Narnia, which implies that, you know, there's been dinosaurs and dead plants and like, you know, tectonic plates in Narnia. And I'm just like, I don't know. It's very like, what's it called? Anachronistic?
Well, the thing about, I was doing a lot of research about the relationship between Lewis and Tolkien. Because they were very famously friends, but also a little bit frenemies. You know, they had a little bit butting heads. And they were also alpha readers for each other. And Tolkien, you know, had a lot of critiques about Lewis's writing. You know, quite famously, they kind of shredded on each other's work. So.
But even like... Because I don't know if you read like the OG Hobbit before the rewrite. Because even that has like a bunch of anachronistic stuff. Like he has a pocket watch and like stuff like that. So I feel like the Hobbits pre-edit and Narnia is very similar in their like world building. So I don't know what Tolkien was.
Yeah, but apparently Lewis didn't like the Hobbit either. Like he also tore that to shreds. So they were friends, but they also really ribbed on each
Yeah.
other. Apparently, they were kind of frenemies in a way.
Old
So
enemies
they
and old
were
friends.
Anne and every one of Anne's friends.
Yeah, but what I read is like in their lifetime, Lewis was a lot more famous of a writer, because like he was quirky, but his quirk was like being a super Christian guy. But like Tolkien's quirk was like making up weird languages for fun. Like, so everybody thought Tolkien was just a complete weirdo. So where Lewis like actually had like literary success, but then obviously nowadays
Yeah.
Tolkien is seen as more of a master of the craft. So obviously they're both super famous, but if you had to say who's more
Yeah, I
respected.
agree.
I definitely think Tolkien did a lot for like fantasy as a genre.
Yeah. But obviously, because he was the groundbreaker of the genre, in his time, he got, made fun of for being the first to do a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do we have anything else to say on prose and writing style, or back to plot and pacing?
I don't know if this would fall under the writing style or not, but it was just a little thing that like stuck out to me that I didn't like. And I don't know if it was because of the writing style and the time that it was written, but there was lots of like kissing and weeping and throwing themselves on each other. And I was like, no, I don't like this.
I didn't really notice that in Norwegian translation. But at some point, right after when Peter kills Margrim, he and Susan kiss, and I thought that was so strange.
Yeah, I did not like that. I was like, "This is
why are they kissing?" And it wasn't described as like.
Did anybody mark what chapter or page that is? Because I would love to look it up.
Oh,
I do remember that.
I did write it down. Let's see, chapter 12, one of the last sections, last page. Okay. After Peter kills the Morgrim, he and Susan kisses. What in the Cassie Clare is going on here? Is what I.
Yeah, and I was talking to Violet about this, like in just a DM, and I was like, I have thoughts on this, and I don't like this. And Violet was like, well, was it like Susan or Lucy? Because if it was Lucy, like that's the youngest sister, like that kind of makes sense. I was like, yeah, like kissing on the cheek. Oh, I'm so like I was so worried about you, whatever. But like he kissed Susan,
and then he even like. Louis even made a point of it, like, and then Susan kissed Peter, and that's normal in Narnia. Nobody thinks that's weird. And I was like, what is going on here?
I don't like comments. I was like, this is a no for me. If I wasn't so far in this book, I would have put it down.
I didn't remember that exact moment. I just remembered one other moment where it said, like, and there was a lot of, like, crying and kissing or something.
Yeah.
I remembered that line because you guys had read this part before me and kind of had warned me that there was kissing comments.
Yeah, and like what Kit says, like Peter and Susan were always a little too flowers in the attic for me.
Okay, wait, I haven't gotten to that part in the comments yet.
But I will just say quickly, I thought the pacing was brilliant, and that really stuck out to me as I was reading, even from the beginning. As like as Stieg says, by page 3, like you're already in Narnia and meeting Mr. Tumnus, and like I feel like it was just masterfully paced, where it was like always moving, but it never felt rushed. Also, and it just felt like condensed so masterfully.
I do think, the plot and pacing worked out quite well because you have Lucy going there, her going back, her siblings not believing her, Edmund going. Him kind of gaslighting her, you get the tension really built up organically. Him kind of getting the deal with the witch to bring his siblings, him doubling down on that.
Yeah, and that all of that you describe happens in really just a few pages, and yet it doesn't even feel rushed.
Yeah,
it just feels like it's really engaging, and
it's very easy. Also, I think for a child to follow that plot, like,
yeah.
It's not convoluted. It's easy to follow. It makes sense why they're doing what they're doing. You understand why Edmund is making the decisions he's making, why the rest of them are making their decisions, because, Lucy has to go now save Mr. Tumnus because she feels like it's her fault because,
it is.
Yeah, it is. So all the logic tree makes sense to why everybody's doing the actions they're doing.
Right. Also, just touching on like Edmund real quick. Like, because I know like Edmund is like, oh, that little shit. And he is a little shit. But I do like that there's like somewhat of a redemption arc.
Yeah.
But there isn't though. That was my main problem with the book.
I have a question also about Edmund. I don't think they described that in the movie that Turkish delight was like
Charmed?
enchanted. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
it's
'cause I was-
implied in the movie.
Oh, because I did not pick that up as a kid when I watched that movie. And then when they say it in the book, like, oh, he's like, it's like addicting to him. I was like, oh, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, because whenever I watched the movie too, like I didn't pick that up. I mean, I was like,
yeah, like, why is he just an evil asshole for no reason betraying his family?
Yeah,
He's
for
under a
this
spell.
candy.
But
that
it's also a
someone-
little. He's also not before he gets like the magic Turkish delight. So I think he's just a bad person.
I think he's like that middle child syndrome and like the age that he is. Like he's. See, this is the thing where like I don't know, maybe it's just like oldest child here, but like definitely I saw like middle child syndrome where it's like don't know where to fall within the group and trying to figure that out, and then obviously made like some wrong decisions. But yeah, I also didn't pick that up as a kid in the movie that the Turkish delight was enchanted until it was read in the book out loud to me, and I was like, well, damn, because I heard Turkish delight is not that good. It's like mid at best.
Oh, I like Turkish delight.
It's not even mid; it's just bottom tier.
I like it, but I wouldn't eat like it's something you just eat a couple pieces of. Like I felt so sick when they were saying like he was shoving it in his mouth, like okay, like I would eat maybe a couple pieces and be like I'm good for like a couple years. Like I don't need to have any Turkish delight for like a few years. It's like one of those things that you just have every once in a while.
Yeah,
like total Robo Kelly.
Under the sea.
What Kit was saying. Well, Kit just appeared. Also, hello, Kit. I will say, when I was at university lectures, would speak more highly of Tolkien than they would Lewis. So I think nowadays Lewis isn't as respected in literary circles.
Also, who cares about literary circles? No offense.
Oh, we're in a literary circle right now. Look at us.
It's
so
not
literary.
a literary circle. This is just, for friends taking a piss.
This book club is so literary, Stieg. I'm putting this on my query letter when I query. I'm going to be like, I run a book club, a very prestigious literary book club.
Choked on my orange. I'm sorry.
I forgot to wear my tie, actually.
Oh, the whole dirty sword scene. Big dick.
Giving anti-masturbation propaganda. I don't know.
So what's this dirty sword scene again?
When Peter kills the wolf and Aslan goes like, your sword is dirty, clean it. And it's just like, it was such a metaphor for like, I don't know, how Christians view masturbation that it was like, ugh,
I see. So even, I remember now, even like the last line of that chapter is like Aslan saying like, and never forget to clean your sword or something like that.
Yeah.
So okay, well, it's even the last line of the
Where
chapter.
did I leave off now? The comments just jumped. Oh my gosh, why am I so behind on comments?
Yeah, I just want to touch base on that, Kelly. You're saying Edmund had a redemption arc. He does not have a redemption arc.
You're like, that's the thing for me. I don't know.
Well,
maybe
he ends up there, but
yeah,
Lewis doesn't show
he's
how
forgiven,
he gets there.
but there's no arc. Like,
yeah.
no,
I
like,
see
that
that.
wasn't very Barbie of you. And then Edmund's like, ugh, you're right. And then that's it.
I feel like also though, like it has a lot to do with Edmund seeing for himself how evil the White Witch was.
Not to interrupt, but go back to Sam's comment. I'm sorry, Sam. This is a red flag for me. I thought we could be friendly, but I don't know, bestie.
Well, a part of me wonders if it was a thing of the times. This was published in 1950. So I'm thinking like this is older than,
I don't
my
know.
parents.
Charlie Brown
Like,
was kind of mean to his little sister,
Yeah, but I'm just wondering.
He makes a point of how normal it is in Narnia, and nobody there thinks it's weird.
Yeah, but also let's think about also the post, the end scene of this when they are coming back to the real world and how changed their personalities are from regular English society as well. Their Narnia personalities.
I forgot about English society.
Yeah, so it could also just be a Narnia-ism. I
Still
have
weird.
no idea.
The kids
Still don't like it.
So I have no idea what 1950s England norms were because I was not around then. This
Michael,
is
you were
before-
there. How was it?
Yeah, well, some memory though, right?
So it could also be a little bit sign of the times, or this could be also C.S. Lewis projecting his Christianity norms of a perfect world, his Narnia utopia
See,
ideals.
I can see
Yeah.
that. It's like nice because like at first glance, it's like, oh yeah, fun portal fantasy world, and then you just start thinking about it more, and it's just like, there's so many Christian themes throughout this. No wonder I was allowed to watch it.
Yeah, because at the end, when they'd been in Narnia for so long, they didn't even recognize the lamppost. Like they're so brainwashed or so conditioned into their fantasy rules.
Yeah, just with this comment here, I feel like the way I sort of interpreted it was Edmund saw for himself how evil the White Witch was to him, like even when he was loyal to her and whatnot, and so that really hit home for him, or it made it clear to him that he had made his big mistake, and she was the evil one, and like Aslan was the good one, and so that was kind of like how he sort of switched sides, sort of like immediately and behind the scenes without Lewis having to say it, and then the others, just forgave him and whatnot. But yeah.
See, I don't know. I get that. I think just as a child, it was like, oh yeah, of course this is his redemption arc. Because whenever I first watched the movie, I was a child. But yeah, the nostalgia there is like, oh yeah, it's not like a Prince Zuko redemption arc.
Yeah.
I don't think anything's ever going to touch that greatness. But
Yeah. It just it falls flat in the eyes of like a modern day adult lens, obviously. But again, when we're looking at it, just Lewis's heavy-handed religious allegory, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But even a 10-year-old knows like right from wrong, and he's also a little shit before he ate the drugs. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there with Edmund and his nature, I would say.
He's really betraying them. He doesn't understand what's going on. He's literally a child. Yeah, that's true.
But still, a 10-year-old knows right from wrong. I have nieces and nephews, and they know what's right from wrong.
Yeah, I would agree. 10 is young, but it's not so young that you haven't already sort of
You
become
have
a
a moral
person.
compass.
Yeah.
Like she's even younger, and she's a good person.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I also got that vibe.
Is Lucy? Yeah, definitely she is. Is Lucy younger than Edmund, or?
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's the
she's
youngest.
Okay,
Youngest.
okay.
Okay. We did the pacing after we met Aslan to feel rushed. Yeah, I just find Aslan weird. It's the whole Jesus allegory. Him every time he talks, it feels weird to me.
Oh.
Aslan gave me always weird vibes.
I liked the talking lion though. I thought like, oh yeah, talking lion would be so cool.
I know, but it would be even cooler if it wasn't Jesus.
It'd be cooler if it wasn't Jesus lion.
Yeah, if it wasn't a Jesus lion, it would be way cooler.
See, I don't think I actually saw the Christian influence until I was like in middle school, high school. Because as a child, I'm like, oh my god, that's so cool. But yeah, Jesus lion.
Well, I'm a little bit older than you, so I was a little bit older than when I saw it for the first time. So I just was like, ugh. It even gave me weird vibes, when I saw it in the movie theater, and I was like, yeah, something's weird about that lion.
Something's not quite right. I also didn't like after he died, like the whole like kissing and crying again. There's lots of kissing and crying.
Yeah, I don't know. He just always gave me weird vibes. I don't know why.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not an affectionate person, but I was like, this is a no.
I don't know. Tumnus, he was always cool. The beavers, I thought they were nice.
I hated the Santa character though.
Yeah, that was kind of like an interesting moment there. I wonder if he was even writing and drafting, and then in a later draft he put that in there just so that they could have the, because like the things that they get have uses later, right? Like Peter gets his sword, and then is it Lucy? She gets her vial of like curing whatever it is, and so it feels a little bit like backtracking or working back to add that stuff in so it can for later.
That actually reminds me of something, Michael. That another thing about Lewis and Tolkien. Apparently, another thing that they argued about was that Tolkien was a very turtle speed writer and Lewis was a very fast writer. Apparently, that he would turn out drafts really quickly and Tolkien would write really fast. So, I don't know. Apparently, that was something they bickered about. I read.
Oh.
So you could be right. He could have just flown through the drafts and then gone back and through things. And that's actually a pretty good hypothesis based off of...
Yeah, it just, maybe as a writer myself, it seemed a little bit of a moment where I could see the seams of the story.
But did yours have the prologue with the letter he wrote? That he had wrote, or the prologue, the dedication that he had written it to his goddaughter?
Yeah.
Was it his goddaughter? Yes, his goddaughter.
Yeah, that was cute.
See, I thought like the whole like it's always winter but never Christmas is like at the time that it was probably written like that was like supposed to be like a symbol of hope. So like the evil queen always having it winter, but it's never the time or day that is like most hopeful and joyful. It was like part of the oppression that she was giving. And then whenever they had the Santa scene, that's like restoring the hope and we can overthrow her basically.
I mean, that feels like a war allegory or even just like a depression allegory. It's always winter, never Christmas. Like, that's a fucking deep line to me. Like, that's a fucking baller.
Yeah. And it's put in there probably 2 or 3 times. Sprinkled throughout.
That's honestly, I think Lewis did something with that.
Yeah. But also, it's just like the fact that, okay, so there's never Christmas, which implies that at some point there was a Christ in this world, and there's not Aslan. Because the book doesn't present itself as a Christian allegory.
Yeah. And there's also
Santa Claus implies the existence of Saint Nicholas in this world. And I'm just like, ugh.
Don't think about it too hard, Steve. It's a children's book.
Yeah, that's why Tolkien was tearing this to shreds. He's over there like making his own elven language, drawing his maps.
Yeah, I just like I don't know, and just the inherent misogyny in Santa Claus 2. I was just so fuming when I read that bit.
Maybe Lewis could have like tried to like make him feel better by asking him how to like spell out Father Christmas in his new language that he was making up.
Yeah, and then
they could have like had peace.
Could you just imagine being Tolkien and then like in the time like Lewis is getting like all these accolades like from Oxford and like everybody's like and Tolkien like over there like everybody making fun of him like for his weird hobbits and stuff.
He's that meme with I can't think of his name, but he played Luigi's voice in the movie and he like had all the papers on the wall and he's like with the red string connecting everything. Very that like everyone's like praising Lewis and then it's like you look over here and here's Tolkien with like his mouth.
Oh yeah.
just a crazy weird crazy fucking genius.
It was a little bit Deus Ex Machina, as Kit says down the line.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, behind the comments.
Gender roles are very like clear in the book. It was particularly 2 scenes. One when they first arrived at the Beaver Dam and like the boy go hunting, and then the girl set the table, and then put the kettle on. And then when they receive their gifts, Santa's like, oh, this is only to be used for dire needs. And then Lucy's like, oh, this seems scary, but I think I could fight if I had to. And Santa's like, no, women don't fight. So it's not even the fact that she's 8 that's the problem. It's just the fact that she's a woman. Like, Santa is all right with child soldiers, but God forbid, a girl fights. I don't know.
Santa was like, nay, nay. No, see, and that's another thing too. I think depending on like location, time we're in, because like I like to make jokes that like where I live, unfortunately, is like so set back in like ways of life that again, watching that as a kid, single digit child in 2005, I'm like, oh yeah, of course this makes sense. But definitely probably something to do more with like the time it was written in the 50s.
Sam is saying a redemption arc more like the allegory of prodigal son returning.
That is very much what it's giving.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Lucy may be a good person, but she's no. How dare you come for Lucy?
I like Lucy. She's not
I like
like
Lucy.
I didn't get annoying at
Edmund
all
or Peter
from
or Susan.
Lucy.
I like Lucy. I think she's sweet. She just wants to. Yeah. I feel bad for her. Maybe because I'm also the youngest sibling in my family, so. And you're the
Wait.
annoying little sister.
Okay, so I'm the oldest. Violet, you're the youngest. Stieg, what are you?
I'm a middle child. Can you tell?
You know what? Everything makes sense now. Michael?
Middle child, January Capricorn, huh?
Everything
That's
makes
me.
sense.
I'm the youngest. Believe it or not.
I think I am a middle child, but I think I am an older sister rising, maybe, or an older sister ascending.
Maybe.
Or eldest daughter, not older sister, but eldest daughter ascending, I think.
Yeah, it is a struggle.
Yeah, mixed mythos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another thing. Like, they talk about like how Jade is the White Witch, is the daughter of Lilith, which is Adam's first wife, and a giant. And then if you read The Magician's Nephew, like that's not where she's come from. And I'm just like,
Oh,
this don't make no sense.
So like
Yeah.
I didn't read the other books. So like in The Magician's Nephew, like elaborate more. Where does she come from in that book?
There's going to be minor spoilers for The Magician's Nephew. It's a good book, but in The Magician's Nephew, you meet this boy, and I forget how, but he comes across this magic ring that takes him to this huge forest that has a lot of different pools, and the pools are the portals to other countries. And one of them pools that he jumps into, he finds himself, where Jade is in her country, and like there's no one, and there's this giant castle, and there's a gong, and he rings the gong, and that wakes her up. And then she travels with him back to the forest because she grabs onto him as he tries to escape because she's like, "Oh, I'll kill you all," because she's never was a good person. So she comes from like another dimension, and she comes to our world and wreaks havoc. And then, they use the ring to go to a new pool, and in this pool it's all just black, and that's Narnia. And then, Aslan comes along and creates Narnia while you get to watch it.
Yeah, because doesn't he sing it? Like he
sings it to life. It's a whole spiel. But like, I don't know. She's not the daughter of Lilith because she's not. Also, the daughter of Lilith implies that Lilith exists in Narnia, and I'm just like,
I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. But because they are mixing things like Christmas. Yeah, like you're saying, if they have Christmas, then they have Christ, and even calling humans, son of Adam, daughter of Eve.
yeah.
Then Adam and Eve exist.
Yeah.
So it's just confusing. Lewis didn't think about all the moving parts that he set up here.
Yeah, I don't really know if he was trying to be cute or what he was exactly trying to do with the whole son of Adam, daughter of Eve thing. But yeah, you have a good point because if he could refer to a male as a a son of Adam, he could just call him a male, right? Like surely, or a boy or a man or whatever, right? Because surely there
It
would
does. It
be that
literally makes no sense because
connection.
couldn't you also be a daughter of Adam? You know, like it's
Yeah.
not like you just have one parent of one gender.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like what the fuck?
yeah. It's a little bit hard to say exactly what he meant by that. Maybe he was just trying to make something a little unique and quirky. But
Could you imagine like just if humans like reproduced what's it called, like just
Weird little
a
clone babies.
yeah, just like just little clone babies, like we don't need the other, we just do it ourselves.
yeah,
Yeah, and then I'm also like, because there's this whole prophecy that, once two daughters of Eve and two sons of Adam sit on the thrones in Cair Paravel, the evil witch shall be vanquished. And I'm like, okay, so whoever prophesied this also knew about the existence of Adam and Eve, like, and another dimension, and people coming from another dimension. It's just, it's a card house that's very wobbly.
Yeah, it's a
And-
card that's very wobbly. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
It's
also,
a-
Gust of
yeah.
wind.
it's a card house, and there's not even any face cards there.
It's basically the game. I don't know if you ever played it, but what is it? Two truths and a lie. I feel like that's Narnia's world building.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
That is-
I mean, I love a good prophecy, but I mean, we don't know who made this prophecy, do we, or where it came from, or
We don't, and then they
the
talk about
legs
the
that it
emperor.
stands on, or like.
They talk about the emperor across the sea and how he made Narnia, and how Yadis used to be his executioner, so that's why she owns every traitor in Narnia. But I'm like, okay, but that's not how Narnia was created. There was no emperor, like, unless Aslan is the emperor, but then Aslan also talks about the emperor, and I'm like, it don't make no sense. I don't know.
Well, isn't like Aslan, like, isn't there like the whole like other worlds thing too in the woods? And then like Aslan is somehow connected in all of those worlds, but he goes by different names in each one or something like that.
I mean, yeah, I don't remember quite. I think he's some kind of omnipotent god, and then for some reason he's left Narnia alone for so long that it's just all turned to shit. And then he's like, "Oh, but I'm back now! Surprise!"
He wants to be in every narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Eva. The children fighting should have been a no for Santa, not just the girls.
Yeah, and then when Morgrim attacks at the camp, and Aslan's like, "Nobody touch him! Let Peter kill him!" And I'm like, "Bestie, that's a 13-year-old boy."
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the daughters, Eve, son of Adam, could be significant in another world. Yeah, right. Why not son of Eve? Yeah.
I will, however, say though that at some point Jadis mentions, I think it's when she ties Edmund to the tree, and like after they like can't make it to the stone table, and she's like, "Oh, I guess I'll just have to kill you here." And then she mentions like, "Oh, I can't do it at the stone table as usual," which implies that there have been other children that she's killed in Narnia. And I want to read that story. I don't know.
Ooh,
Ooh, fanfic feb.
there we go. You know what? It's also kind of that just that little bit of killing children and stuff reminds me of is Undertale. Have y'all played it?
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay, y'all are missing out. You need to play Undertale. Because no one's played it, I won't go too much into spoilers, but basically this child falls through the ground and is now in the world of monsters. And you go through and you have the opportunity to either kill them all or like show mercy and befriend them all. And the route you choose determines like what happens at the end. It's really good with storytelling. But just to recommend if anyone wants to play a video game this winter, Undertale's really
What's it
fun.
called? Underworld?
Undertale.
Oh wait, I've heard about this. Undertale.
We've kind of organically covered a lot of topics because I didn't
I'm
prep that
sorry.
many
It
banners.
makes no sense.
I do have this characters, talking animals and mythical creatures.
Love talking animals. Love mythical creatures. I don't know. Did you check for the ox with the human head?
Yeah, that thing.
Because at some point in the camp, they mention, "Oh, there's an ox with a human head."
Yeah, I don't remember that at all, to be honest.
I mean, Narnia was definitely my first introduction to a fawn. I never knew what a fawn was until Narnia. So, and then later down the years, when I saw James McAvoy in something, I was like, "Where the hell do I know that actor from? He looks so familiar."
Mr. Tumnus.
And it took me so long to realize that that was Mr. Tumnus.
But can any of you check now the chapter where they arrive at the camp to see if there's an ox with a human head? Because I'm dying to know if that's a mistranslation. It's chapter 12.
Oh, that's like right at the end.
Also in chapter 12, they mentioned that Susan has a little blister from walk-in, and my thought was just like, "Oh, if only she had stockings." But generally, yeah, I love talking animals. I think they're so much fun.
So
it's when they first arrive at camp and they describe who stands around Aslan.
Okay, I'm looking.
There's a film adaptation. There were human-headed bulls. The only creatures coming close were minotaurs in the 2005 film of the Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah, because Prince Caspian has a minotaur. And that makes more sense. But I'm just like, imagine a bull with a human head. Like,
oh, I'm looking at it on this fandom wiki.
Oh.
Human-headed
It's in the center of the group themselves. Okay, I see Aslan.
Yeah.
Horse. A unicorn. Yep, and a bull with the head of a man.
Just imagine that. Just a fucking
No,
bull
wait, I'll
with the head of a man.
I'll share my screen. You can see it.
And I'm just like, ugh. And how does that come to be? Like, what's the birth process for that?
Whoa. Do you guys see it? Look at it.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's like quite disgusting.
That looks like a penis.
Kind of does. Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought
that's the illustration in the book of Aslan with all the creatures around him.
Oh, that's cute.
So.
Anyway, that was the only character who was like, ugh, okay. A bull with a human head. But the others were swell. I love nymphs. I love dryads. Also, they said that Yadis is a djinn at some point, and I was just like, can we say that in 2024? 2023? Is that cultural appropriation?
Wait, I thought she was a giant.
No, she's born from Lilith and a giant. Or she's also a giant. But I guess that makes her half giant. But then he says in the Norwegian translation that she's a djinn.
Yeah. That's the exact word used in this translation also, or, in English.
And I just thought that was like, okay, so there also exist jinns in this world. But she's not from this world, so they don't exist in this world. I don't know. It's just very confused.
But the bird didn't talk, right? The bird, they could understand them.
Yeah, just hopped from branch to branch.
Which I thought was weird because the other animals, like the beavers, could talk.
But there's animals that can't talk in Narnia.
I know, I'm just saying I thought that was inconsistent. I didn't understand what the logic was of why can beavers talk but birds can't.
Me reading Narnia, I don't understand the logic behind this.
Yeah.
And I guess that's one of my main gripes.
So I was just curious.
It might take him a little while to do so there, Violet.
Should I get my Ouija board out?
We'll wait.
Yeah. As Sam says, the very red-breasted robin didn't talk. We don't know if it couldn't, it just didn't. So yeah, I guess that's...
Could you imagine if the birds could talk and they were just like, ugh, don't want to talk to these other creatures. They're a waste of breath or something.
Stone realistic ritual killing of traitors. Uh-huh.
But
Love the
then, she
animals.
has given Tumnus the job of luring children. And it did sound like he'd done it before. So I'm like, okay, if she's
Yeah.
worried that children are coming to Narnia, I mean, maybe there's other children. I don't know.
But
Someone's
had
job
he
is to
done it
lure-
before? Because he seemed so nervous. That's what I wasn't sure. If he had actually done it before.
touched
Because it
for
seemed
the very first time.
Oh, I have a that just reminds me of something kind of that sticks out as kind of odd, at least when you finish reading the book. But when Lucy first meets him, Mr. Tumnus, he's holding like a few like Christmas packages, right?
parcels,
And
yeah,
then-
right? He was
Yeah, like wrapped parcels or Christmas packages or something like that, gifts. And then, like she
No.
startles him so much that he drops them all, right? So I'm just wondering like where he might have gotten these packages. If there's no Christmas, why does he have
Well, I didn't
these
imagine
packages,
them as
or-
Christmas packages. I just
Yeah,
thought them
just
as
the
like
parcel.
brown.
Okay,
Yeah, like
so
brown
what
wrapped.
does Lewis actually say what they're for, or does he just say that he happens to be holding these parcels, or like that was
Probably
just
just went to the butcher. I don't know.
Imagine the fanfic Feb rolls around, and you can say that those parcels are the gifts that the other children somehow showed up to Narnia with.
That'd be so sad. But I was just carrying them around.
Yeah. There's also a picture, and
Because
yeah, he's
the
just
reason
holding-
I thought that Thomas might not have done it before is because he had to ask Lucy to confirm that she's human. Because like if he had done this before, he should know damn well that she was a human.
It says here, parcels in the snow did it, so it looked like he'd been out and shopping for Christmas. But that's Lucy's thoughts, so I don't actually know.
right.
what
That
it's
could be
doing.
a narrator kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It could also just be like I just always assumed they were like brown twine wrapped packages.
I mean,
because
that's what I'm
the
picturing
movie.
in my head too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
She can't have talking. She literally gets banned from Narnia in the book.
Yeah, she gets banned.
Unhinged. Don't like it. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Book illustration is cool. Lilith is a djinn, apparently. Red-breasted robin didn't talk. We don't know if it couldn't. It just didn't. Okay, maybe it just didn't want to talk to them. He held parcels.
Yeah,
Thomas always gave me fruity vibes.
and he
Yeah.
wasn't helped by James McAvoy either. I'll admit.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, that's true. Any other thoughts on any of the characters in general? The kids.
As I said, love Mrs. McGreedy. No bullshit, no children. I identify with her. I would like a job, please. Also, I don't know if is this a spoiler? Probably. It's going to be a spoiler for the magician's nephew. But the professor who lives in the manor, he's the boy from the first book.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, because at the end, whenever the kids like come out of the wardrobe or whatever, and like basically hints to like knowing what's in the wardrobe, but he doesn't say it or something in the movie, I was like, he's been there.
Yeah, it's pretty strongly implied though in this book that he knows what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in the
and
end
like
there.
the wardrobe is because I don't remember exactly how.
Well, even in the beginning, it's pretty strongly implied when they're like, Lucy says that she's been doing,
And it's like,
yeah.
how do you know she's not crazy?
Yeah.
It's the truth.
How do you know she's not telling the truth?
But yeah, I think he picks up something like I think Yadis picks up a branch in Narnia and uses it to whack people with, and then she drops it in the human world, and then they plant a tree from it, and the tree grows into a big tree, and then they make a wardrobe from the tree. So that's how the portal is made.
Interesting.
Oh,
I
that's
always-
awesome.
I always like hearing how portals are made or like seeing it. So have y'all watched Once Upon a Time?
No.
Yes.
Okay, you remember?
I've seen Once Upon a Time in the West.
No, this is different. This is like
I've
an 80s
seen Once Upon a Time, the Lifetime show.
Okay. Well, once upon a time, the ABC show, I think Disney was behind it. It was really good up until season 3 when they forced Anna and Elsa on screen. Not that I have anything nice about Anna, like that I don't like Anna and Elsa, but they just really like this was the height of Frozen, and they were just shoving them into everything. But anyway, Snow White and Prince Charming, like it goes between like where they are now in this world and then where they were in the fantasy world, and like through the season you're kind of seeing them in the fantasy world panicking, and then like how they sent their daughter away, and like how the portal was carved because the Pinocchio's dad, Geppetto, was the one who like carved it from this specific tree, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but anyway, talking about how the wardrobe was made, this was also a wardrobe, and that's how they sent their daughter away to escape the curse initially. It was really cool watching it, like the process and everything. So,
Yeah, I mean, I had a banner for Portal Fantasy.
There you go.
I mean, it is. I mean, when you can't talk about Portal Fantasy without talking about Narnia, because it is one of
I
the.
think it is the staple.
Yeah, it is one of the cornerstones of the genre. So it's like.
Yeah, Narnia, Alice in Wonderland, because that's like whenever.
And Wizard of Oz. I mean.
Yeah, whenever Zara and I were like trying to like comp stuff, because the Simon and Schuster, I think, were wanting like comps that were within like 3 years, and I'm like, well, I got inspiration from like these books that are like real old, so good luck. Luckily we found them. I can't remember what they were, but it was a task to find them, just because I think that Portal Fantasy as I think that it only comes around like so often. Like it's not like a trend, but you know what I mean? Like it has its times and then it moves on and then it will come back again. I guess like a trend, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're
it's
right.
It's not like someone on screen is actually reigniting that trend just now. ...
Fingers crossed, but we'll see. I admire the confidence.
I mean, in all fairness, fantasy is what they call the evergreen market in terms that, it's never trendy, it's just always there.
It is true, but yeah.
But I don't think it'll ever blossom to the heights like, because I don't think Portal Fantasy in itself is sexy enough. So, you got to have some werewolves or elves or witches or whatever cycling these days.
Yeah, I think it all depends on what your portal is doing. What there's different variables. You can always make fantasy fresh, and it just depends what you're doing with it. And
yeah,
I remember back in September on my channel we talked about like Portal Fantasies and like the staples in the genre. How whenever like you hear Portal Fantasy, these are the books you probably think of. I remember on that presentation too, there were like other books that were like in more recent years. Let me open up that slideshow real quick.
And like, look, C.S. Lewis, he put his own expertise into it. What was his expertise? His trauma from war and his personal expertise of like his passion for religion. Those were his two personal expertise of his life. And that's what he put into Narnia.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was hella successful, and it's still cherished to today.
Yeah, right.
I'm so excited for the Greta Gerwig remake.
Yeah, so it's like, that's what you got to do. You have to just put yourself into your work. That's what we all do as writers, right? We take the pillars of the novel and the storytelling, and we add our own souls to it.
Yeah, because I talked about like Portal Fantasy and like how there's like different categories of Portal Fantasy. There's like fantastically grounded, despite being a fantastical world for completely real, clear internal magic rules, usually confirmed to not be a dream, often by injury or physical evidence, and populate.
Kelly, you're underwater.
A son of a bitch. Have a now.
Hold on,
I think the phrase "son of a bitch" seems to fix it pretty well, actually.
Okay, so I'm good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, it's usually confirmed to not be a dream, often by injury or physical evidence, populated by fleshed out characters to help befriend or smooches are POV characters. So like whenever, I don't know, just with Narnia, I think that it is grounded in some way like that. Where like there are other categories of portal fantasy that are like dreamlike, where the world has like much looser rules. The vibe is that sometimes things just happen and actions can have random or illogical results, and the POV character just accepts. So like very Alice in Wonderland, and then I think Narnia is a little bit more grounded, just a bit.
Can I say something actually? You
Oh,
just
yeah.
make me think of it right now. I would
Yeah.
say that there's probably a dreamlike aspect to Narnia with how time stands still in the so-called real world when you're over there in Narnia.
I don't know if I would
And
call
then-
that dreamlike. I think the movement of time is also a pretty.
Yeah, I think it has to be like if you're doing a portal fantasy, time pass, like it's pretty standard that the time moves different in the other world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like they can kind of, when they, in the end of the book, get back, and, it's still the exact same thing that's going on with Mrs. McReady and the people in the hall and stuff. And the way they can just jump right back into their lives, it kind of gives like this idea that it's like just a dream, in that
Yeah.
sense.
And to comment on Sam's comment, the isekai, that was something else that we talked about. Very like Swords Art Online. I don't know if y'all have watched that, but that was like a example of that, where it was like the video game became the portal, like the VR headset became the portal, and then all these kids across the country, like you were watching like what was happening with all these kids going away, but they couldn't remove the VR headset or else they would die in this world.
That
Ooh.
reminds me of Jumanji.
Oh, I love Jumanji. So good.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Jumanji's really good. I think, yeah, so
Well, the movement of time, yeah, that did
It's
seem a
very
little
inconsistent
inconsistent.
because when Lucy's first there and spends an afternoon with Tumnus, a couple of minutes have passed. And then they spend 60 years, question mark, in Narnia and come back, and still only a couple of minutes have passed.
oh yeah, and then not to go off on a tangent, but like the how we were talking about how the popular examples that are kind of like the binding of the genre, which is like Alice in Wonderland, Narnia, and Oz, because that's all stuff that people think of first when they think of it. But there's like a lot of like cinematic examples that may have shaped childhood, with like Coraline, Jumanji, Nightmare Before Christmas. Like that's all portal, think about it. And then like the other examples that people definitely don't know of, or at least I didn't whenever I was like drafting or drafted down the well, and Stieg actually asked me if I read the Twist Rose Key, and I didn't, and then I went back and read it, and it was really good. So there are like, I think with what Stieg was saying earlier, how like this might be like a subgenre that's always here, and then it just gets really popular at certain periods of time, but like the books in the genre are always there. But it's just like one of those things, I didn't realize how big portal fantasy was until I was making the presentation, and just how
You still have your presentations up though on your channel, right?
yeah, you can go watch the lives and us talk about them, and then eventually down the road, whenever I do get my shit together, redo my website, and have a newsletter, I'm going to put them all on the PDF version so people can have access to those and keep them.
That's neat.
Mm-hmm. I love Spy Kids.
I don't know if I think I watched the first Spy Kids.
I haven't seen this one.
You're way too old for that, Michael. 14 to 16 years. Okay. Yeah, I really enjoy portal fantasy as a genre, actually, or as a subgenre of fantasy.
Like even the new Mario movie, obviously portal fantasy.
I just think there's so much you can do with it. I am reading like the Wayward Children's books by Shauna McGuire.
I've heard good things about that, and that was one of the examples too for September's craft discussion, because I'd never heard of that. And then whenever I was doing the research, I found it, and I was like, oh, ooh, I might like these.
Oh, did you comp those to your book?
I think Zara, I'll have to find it, but I think
Because those are definitely Portal with a little bit of trauma and whimsy.
I read the summaries. I'm like, oh, I think this is my jam,
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, you just heard the upset child in the background.
Any other thoughts on Portal Fantasy? Otherwise, I can pull up my favorite banner.
Go for it.
Bam.
I mean, dare I say Christianity?
Yeah.
Dare I say Jesus? Dare I say?
Say it.
Yeah, that's a major thing for me. And also, as far as the symbolism and motifs go, I love the way, I think it was 3 times you mentioned, like, you don't close the portal when you go in. Hello?
What was that? Sorry, I think you were a little bit underwater there.
I think I was also frozen. Like everybody was frozen for me.
Hello?
3?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay. 3. I just wanted to say, he mentions a couple of times about how you, like everyone knows you shouldn't shut the wardrobe door when you go into it.
Yes.
And then he always very much points out the fact that Edmund shuts the door like a dumbass. And I was just like, what does this mean? Like, I don't know, what does this mean?
Yeah, because if you leave the door open, it stays a wardrobe. If you close it, you go to Narnia, right? When you're inside.
I don't know, because Lucy left it open and she went to Narnia.
Oh, that's what I understood, that how it worked. That
I don't think it's a whatever real world Narnia thing, because that's just about how far you go into the wardrobe or whatever.
No, because the one time they went back and they were in it, and they didn't go to Narnia.
Lucy went the first time, she had it cracked. Edmund went the second time when he followed Lucy, and he didn't crack it. And then when all the children go in, Peter almost closes it, but he leaves it open when they go to Narnia. Yeah. So it's not consistent in terms of like on and off button.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought it had some symbolic meaning, and I didn't really get it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Tolkien was obviously a terrible alpha reader. He should have flagged that.
Yeah.
I just got like whimsy from that. Like it was just some, quite nonsensical little recurring joke just for fun, just for the kids. Like I didn't think more about that in terms of what it might symbolize.
No, but Stig is right. I was waiting for the door to close because I thought that was the sign that they were going to Narnia, but it didn't actually close. You are right. It didn't close that time. And I thought, it must have blew closed because otherwise how did they get to Narnia?
See, at first I thought it was like, oh, if you leave it open, then you can like come back or like find your way back easier. But then like at the end, that doesn't matter anyway either.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just make it make sense.
Or maybe it's the opposite. If it's open, you go to Narnia.
Yeah, but then Edmund closed it.
No, but then Edmund closed it and he still went to Narnia. I think, as Sam says, it was just a way to make Edmund look like a dummy. But I was like, okay, it's mentioned 3 times, and it's just like, what does this mean?
What is the symbolism? C.S. Lewis, please call in.
Yeah,
again, to be here for a while.
Other than that, Christianity was heavy. Like the prodigal son was a motif. Definitely misogyny. I don't know. Oh, it was just so annoying. I know it's from the 50s, but my God.
When misogyny was,
C.S. Lewis was not an ally.
God, call in.
Yeah, God, call in.
How do you feel about your role in the text?
Gender roles in 1950s England. But yeah, that was also another big thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, everything was a symbol in here. Like you said, like, the animals mentioned at the zoo, the gifts they were given from Aslan, like, everything was very quite, like, yeah.
Definitely, like, themes and symbols and shit were definitely of the time when it was written.
Yeah.
What do you think about the White Witch turning, like, petrifying people and things, like turning them to stone? Do you think that might represent something?
That was something too. This is a tangent from that, Michael, but we can circle back to that. So this was something that Steve pointed out in a critique of Down the Well, where there was a female character who basically got corrupted by power. That has then since been heavily changed because of the critique. And whenever I got it, I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even realize that. And then looking back on Narnia, like as a child, saying that like the evil person was portrayed as a woman, and that's just like bad. I definitely think like Christianity and obviously misogyny, like everything about a powerful woman or a woman with power is bad. So I just thought that was an interesting, like, I don't know if that would be a theme or a motif, but it was interesting with the storytelling, with all the Christianity and other sexist shit.
No, you're not wrong, Kelly. And also the fact that, you know, she had corrupted like Mr. Tumnus to be her like servant, you know?
Yeah, definitely like the whole...
I think, I mean, I don't want to talk about too much about Down the Well because I have spoilers, but I think this is different in terms of like, you know, Yadis isn't, well, she isn't the only woman in the books, and the other women are heroes, like Susan and Lucy, like they're heroes.
Yeah, but they're just girls. Girls are innocent.
I mean, yeah,
but women.
I think Mrs. Beaver is very portrayed positively.
Yeah, but Mrs. Beaver.
And among them. Yeah, but I feel like I don't know. And like in novels, the men are the villains and not the women. I'm not saying it's not misogynistic because it definitely is, but I'm just saying.
Just something that kind of popped out to me whenever Michael was talking about the thing that Michael was saying, and then I was like, "Oh, this thing popped in my head. I have to say it."
Whenever Michael was talking about the thing that Michael was saying.
The stuff, right?
The stuff.
That's a good quote.
Do we? Is there? What? What was that? I missed that.
No, nothing.
Oh, well, is there a bit of a subversion going on though with evil being represented by white in the book?
Her being the White Witch, you mean?
Yeah, it's like there's a lot
of the snow.
Yeah, I feel like there's like evil is represented by white in the book, and that seems a little bit.
I know what Michael's
backwards from.
Yeah,
because normally, like in terms of like Christianity, you think like white is pure and good and holy, and then black is like whatever is. Like,
well, you have Aslan as a lion being like represented as like gold, like golden.
Yeah. But you know, you have the White Witch, and then she's always dressed all in white. Her complexion is completely white, and all of that. And then she makes the snow basically, which is white, and she's the evil one. So,
why is Turkish delight the? Why does it have to be Turkish delight the most evilest of delicacies? I didn't understand that. C.S. Lewis, please call in.
We could be here for a little while.
I always thought Turkish delight looks, I don't know, not appetizing to me.
I like it, but
what is it?
It's like a jelly kind of thing with nuts in it.
Oh, is it like on a biscuit or a cracker? Or...
No, it's just like a little cube covered in powdered sugar, which is also white. So
it's sort of kind of like pinkish thing, kind of covered in sugar. It's good. I like it.
But do you want to stuff your face with it?
No, I would have like maybe like 2 or 3 pieces max. It's real sweet. You really wouldn't want to have more than 2 or 3 pieces of that.
Unless, you know, they're doused in cocaine.
Which is also white.
Maybe that was the secret. That's what they were enchanted with. Cocaine.
So now there's cocaine in Narnia too, right?
That's the white stuff. Oh gosh. Okay. We're going off the rails.
Is this where we call it? We're going off rails.
White Witch, snow, etc. Yep. Memory serves. Giants in the Bible are the children of angels and humans. I think he uses white for the White Witch because she represents temptation. So she has to present herself as pure.
I
Oh,
hear you,
okay,
Kit.
Kit
that
putting
makes
his
sense.
literary degree to good use.
Yeah, Kit. Okay, I'm buying what you're selling.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Yeah,
yeah,
she's representing temptation. Look at Kit understanding the assignment of themes, symbols, and motifs.
yeah.
So I think Jadis versus Aslan is very Satan versus Jesus, Lucifer versus Jesus.
Yeah, I agree.
Lucifer is such a good name.
Like jelly gummy with nuts and sugar. Also, if she represents Satan, Satan was an angel.
Yep.
Lucifer, I mean.
I can't wait to just flaunt all this new knowledge I get about Narnia to whoever wants to listen.
Going to be on the next Trouble Wednesday.
So now, are you gonna start collecting Narnias?
No, The Hobbit is enough. I have currently like
I know,
25
but
copies of The Hobbit or
come
something.
on, you have to start getting Narnias because Tolkien and Lewis are frenemies.
I do have like honestly I have this omnibus of all the books in Norwegian, and I do plan to get an English copy
Okay,
of all the
then they can
books.
be buddies. They can be buddies together.
But yeah,
Frenemies.
I don't know. But yeah, I don't like Narnia enough to start collecting copies of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Fair enough. It was a really cozy winter read.
It was
I
such Christmas
actually,
vibe, which I loved.
Yeah.
I honestly loved that ending scene of them coming back and like talking all weird. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it fits the genre, how it's a kid's story. Yeah, I agree.
I think it was really unexpected.
Like even how they uh, forget about the lamppost and even what it is, what to call it, and like I feel like that was for the kind of book that it was, and the
It was
audience
it
and the
was like
kids. Like it
slightly
was nice. And,
disturbing. It was like, what? What do you mean they didn't go home? What do you
yeah,
mean? You slightly get traumatized. Even though, like, I'd seen the movie, obviously I remembered that happened, but it was still like, what?
right.
Also, I don't know in chapter 6. I don't know if this is in the English version, but I think it was someone. I think it's on the note that Morgrim leaves on Tumnus's carpet, and it's signed the White Witch. And in the Norwegian copy, it was signed Jadis, Queen of Narnia, Rule of Care Paravel, Empress of the Lonely Islands, etc. Like literally, it said etc. Does that stand in
Oh,
the English edition too?
I don't recall that actually. Chapter 6. So
It's for the little letter that Morgrim leaves on the carpet, nailed to the carpet in Tumnus's abode when they get there.
right. Uh, yeah. So mine says signed Magram, Captain of the Secret Police. Long
Yeah,
live
but
the
when he
Queen.
in the text itself, when he says Tumnus is accused of high
Her
treason against,
Her Imperial Majesty Jadis, Queen of Narnia, Chanteline of
yeah,
how does
Paravel.
Paravel, Empress of the Lone Islands, etc.
Yeah.
It says etc. And I was like, what do you mean etc.? What title is that?
Come on, we can't be all George R. R. Martin and come up with really long, beautiful titles.
She already has such a long title, and just the fact that it's slapped an etc. at the back of it, like, what more is there?
Because if you could think of any other magical place, that falls under the etc. She's also queen of that place.
Etc. etc.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
the
just thought it was
stuff,
so
you know.
funny.
That's
Yeah,
the
That's
stuff.
so funny. It was like queen of everything, etc. I was like, etc.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was another thing I noticed.
yeah.
Sun scene was nice, but it also bothered me so much. Has talked like no one in Narnia has talked like that. Where did they learn this? That's true. Again, Lewis was not a Tolkien with his linguistics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also thought Lucy was very trusting for someone to just walk through a magical wardrobe.
Yeah, for sure.
She does not abide by the strange danger rule, that's for sure.
I mean, but does like thinking about like Alice in Wonderland too? Like Alice just goes along with everything.
Okay, Kit does have a point that it was during the war, right? That they were.
Yeah, but do they remember that? If they didn't remember the lamppost,
No, but at the time they decided to stay, they might have. Yeah, but they would have then remembered that it was only.
Well, they were also their idea was to hunt or not hunt, sorry, but rather catch up to and um, sort of catch up to the white stag, right? And
oh
then
yeah,
that
which
was what led to the
like
actually traveling back through the wardrobe.
all like in itself, the white stag is like a great symbol. But
Yeah, time didn't pass the same. Yeah.
so how is the old guy in the freaking mansion gonna explain that though? Like if the kids are just missing, like I know time isn't the same there, but like I don't know, it's just weird. Like, oh yeah, you have like these 4 children who before were like super loud and obnoxious running through the halls of this house, and then suddenly for like 2 hours everything's quiet. Like toddlers are quiet for longer than like 5 minutes. I'm like, something is wrong. Something's going on.
Also, how much did the professor see them, though?
Yeah, that's true. He could have been real absentee.
Even with like the help around the house and stuff, like the housekeeper and the cooks and stuff, like you got 4
I mean, they did
kids.
spend a lot of time outdoors, it seemed like, in the beginning, so maybe they
Yeah, and
I
it
like
was
it,
the
but by the way.
1940s where the males had nothing to do with the kids.
Yeah.
Does it say like in the beginning or anywhere what he's a professor of?
No,
Or
it
does
just
it
says
just say that
professor.
he's...
Yeah, but this is what I also thought. Not remembering the lamppost at all when Tumnus lived nearby, and it sounds like they had stayed, friends with Tumnus, right? Like,
I just presumed it was like some, magic that.
Yeah, it's kids storytelling basically.
because earlier in the book, okay, it's again another inconsistency because they had said like, Narnia goes from this here whatever coast all the way to the lamppost by the woods or whatever.
See, it's like
So it's like that was like a known fact stated earlier. So I was like, okay.
I also think
Right.
too, like with so like going back, this was my train of thought. Talking about the professor, what is it with like the professor-esque characters? Because have y'all watched the 5 Children in It?
No.
Okay. No? Oh, you guys are missing out. Hold on, let me pull it up and share screen because this is an amazing movie. I remember whenever it was like the weekend and my mom would take us to like the video rental store, and this was like one of my favorite movies to get.
Video
they
rental
they
store? How
actually
old are
didn't
you?
teach Stranger Danger back then. They're right. They really didn't start teaching Stranger Danger until like what, the 60s and 70s?
Okay, so let me.
Is that an American thing? I've never heard of Stranger Danger, but I mean, obviously I know what it would be.
Yeah, like when people started getting abducted in cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when it became on the rise. So before then.
My sister and I, when we were kids, little bit of a tangent, it'll be quick. We had this.
Well, Kelly's showing us something first, and then you can do a tangent.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Michael. So this is the 5 Children in It. This was the movie right here with this like immortal being who also played in Spiderwick Chronicles, which is also great. But they also had an absentee professor living in the house, but this mansion was like by the ocean or whatever, and he was supposed to be their guardian. And they find this little it creature that can grant wishes and stuff. It was very interesting, and I definitely recommend the movie. But watch the movie with the immortal child who also was in the Spiderwick Chronicles.
What is up with the Donald Sutherland mustache?
He was a lot of fun. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, Michael, you can go on your tangent now.
I was just gonna say, my sister and I, when we were kids, we had this book, and it was called "It's Okay to Say No," if I remember that correctly. Yeah, and so that was like a book that taught you like each page, if someone strange, comes up to you and offers you candy.
That's exactly what stranger danger is, Michael.
Yeah,
You
that's why-
definitely had that in Canada.
Yeah. I'm just saying that was like
In the 90s, they definitely were pushing that.
Yeah.
I remember, like, I don't know.
But stranger danger isn't a term that I've ever heard around here specifically.
Well, have you heard "Don't take candy from a stranger"?
Yeah.
Well, it's the
Stay
same
away-
thing.
Stay away from the white vans.
Yeah.
If someone says like they have a pet or something,
Yeah.
Well, look, Kit knows stranger danger, and then he's from the UK, so.
I know stranger danger, and I'm from Norway.
Yeah, but you're also very like, pop culture.
What's that
With
supposed
it.
to mean?
It means you're hip and cool.
Oh, thank you.
With the hand, whatever.
See, the hand whatever.
The hand gestures.
I've run out of banners. So does anybody have anything else to say on this banner or any other topic?
Will you continue to read the series, any of you?
I think I might. I think next December I might pick up the next book. Possibly, depending on how my December goes and how my
I
drafting
will
goes.
marathon the movies.
Ooh, yeah.
But they're not movies of every book, though.
Well, I will Wikipedia the what happens in all the. If I'm interested in the plots.
I'll be honest, I probably won't read on from here for the series.
I was thinking about like getting the set, and if I found it at like a reasonable price, getting the set for whenever the girls get a little bit older and start reading and keeping it, just because like nostalgia from my childhood. I thought about it.
Yeah. It's fun.
It is. It was good. I think it was good. Good children's fantasy.
Yeah, I would like to. Well, I'm gonna get rid of this ugly movie tie-in cover version that I have because I just bought this for the live show. I'm gonna buy a nice copy of this because I do like the book. I do want to have it on my shelf.
Mm-hmm.
So if I do buy a bind up, I will read the rest of them if I find it in a bind up.
Might I recommend this one?
Yeah. So
Just
or
So
the copy
Steve,
that
does that-
Michael has. I really like the copy that Michael has.
Oh, that's the OG art. That's also
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
There's I think it's HarperCollins production, like a book set that also has a really cool art that I really like.
So if I get a pretty copy, I want to get a pretty copy because I do like the book. I would like to own it.
Have you seen
I mean,
the
I
OG
own it, but
copy?
I don't want this because it's ugly.
Have you seen the OG copy? I quite like that.
Oh, yeah?
Can I share?
Yes, you can.
Is that something I'm legally allowed to do?
Legally, yes.
Oh, that is tiny print. I don't know if you can tell at all, but
Yeah,
no.
I've seen this version.
Yeah.
yeah, only 21
That's
euros.
nice.
It's very nice. I also like, I don't know if it has this, but like, have you seen like the Jane Austen books that are like bound really pretty and it's
Oh, the Penguin Classics
oh,
cloth bound
The
series.
cloth bounds,
Yeah,
yeah, those
yeah.
are
I
gorgeous.
have it, and I want to have babies with it.
like I would love to have like fantasy books in the cloth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of Tolkien. I think that would be really cool.
It is all of them in one, yeah, Nikki. And it's really convenient, but also very, very, really impractical because you have to carry it around when you read it.
Right.
Let me see. Can I find the title page for Lion the Witch? There you go. I think it's really cute.
Aww.
I do like that. That's such a good illustration. I love books with illustrations in them.
Yeah, this one has illustrations on each chapter head, and I think that's fun. And that's something I would like to do, like Hello Wardrobe.
Yeah. I love that. I know whenever we were talking for like Down the Well, something that Zara brought up, because I didn't have the idea for illustrations, but Zara brought it up, and how like the illustrations would definitely add to the whimsy. And now I can't imagine it without illustrations.
Yeah.
Also, there's a point I thought that was really funny where Mrs. Beaver says, "And this backpack is for the smallest of us, which is you, Lucy." And then, like, what a read, because according to these illustrations, these are regular sized beavers. And Lucy's clearly larger than Mrs. Beaver. I just thought that was funny.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Also, when they first see the beavers, they didn't realize what they were, and then they're like, "Oh," they see the tail, and they're like, "Oh, I think it's a beaver."
I mean, city
Yeah.
kids in the 1950s.
Yeah, that's true. They probably never seen a beaver in their life, and they're like, "Oh, that tail, that must be a beaver." Okay.
Oh, I have such a vague memory of it, but during the movie, there was a scene I absolutely like adored, and I think it was whenever the kids were with the beavers and they came across like that tea party with like the fox and the other animals, and
Oh,
what really
that was so sad.
what really stood out to me was the fox, and I loved that scene. And yes, it was so sad, but I don't know, that is something that stuck with me.
Yeah, I did notice as I was reading, like, because Aslan, breathes life back into all the petrified peeps, and then I did remember that tea party, so to speak, and I was hoping that he would somehow, by the end of the story, go back there and free those peeps also, but it didn't happen by the end, and I just, I thought about that.
Yeah.
But, there's time, like maybe later on someone reports that they see that, and then Aslan can go over there and do
just
his
breathe
stuff.
on them.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Aslan is Irish. It's an Irish goodbye.
Okay, well, I think that kind of wraps everything up for our Narnia discussion.
Thank
was
you
lovely
for having me.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure. Was mine as always. Thank you, Kelly, for conducting the train.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to remind everybody that in January we are reading Wild Magic by Tamara Pierce. Lynn will be conducting the train.
Choo-choo.
Nice.
Where can I pull up a comment from Lynn? I think she dipped. She was here earlier. Scrolling. Lynn, here's Lynn. Lynn will be conducting the train. So, yes. So get your library holds in for that. I have the poll up for February and March. I will be closing that though. So today will be like the last day to vote. If you would like to vote.
Yeah.
On that, it is in the description on the link tree.
Are you all right?
Yeah, so if people would like to vote for the next reads for next year, I'm going to probably be announcing that pretty soon. There's 3 picks to pick for February. I want to get it announced soon so that people can put holds in if they need them, because I know some people's libraries have very long lines. So yeah. So I have a link tree link down below. I don't know if anybody else has anything they want to promo.
I got a book. If you liked Narnia, you might like my book, Down the Well. And
I have a streaming channel. If you like streaming, you might like the streaming channel.
I'll definitely be getting Down the Well. For sure, and
I've already
enjoying every word of it. And I'm Michael and Stuff, apparently. Thanks for having me, Kelly and Violet and Steve and everyone else. It's been fun.
Yep. Thanks to everybody in chat who showed up, and we will see you. What's it called next time? I will press the button now. Where's the button? Here it is.
Yeah.